This is Sam. He breaks AI models for a living. Companies pay him to find the things their shiny new chatbot will say that it really shouldn't before anyone with worse intentions gets there first. Every model like this ships with a list of things it's trained to refuse. And this morning, a new one just went live. So Sam does the obvious thing first. He asks for one of those forbidden things, straight out, no tricks. And the model says no, exactly like it's supposed to. If you were watching over his shoulder right now, you'd think the thing was airtight. But Sam isn't worried, because he knows something most people don't. That refusal you just saw isn't a wall. And what he does in the next 60 seconds is going to change how you think about every AI you've ever trusted. So Sam asks again. Only this time he doesn't ask for the thing. He asks for a story about the thing. He gives the model 2 characters and a little scene to play, and he buries the real question inside the dialogue, where it stops looking like a question at all. And just like that, the model starts helping. Same request, same machine 1 minute apart, and nothing about it got hacked. So you might ask, what actually just happened here? The basic idea is simple. That refusal was never a wall built into the code. It's a habit the model was taught on top of everything it already knows. Underneath, it has read most of the internet, so it already has a rough idea of how to do almost anything people have written down. The lab just paints a thin layer on top that says be helpful, but turn this kind of thing away. And a layer of paint, if you talk to it the right way, can be talked around. And here's the part that I find genuinely unsettling. What Sam is doing has a name, and it isn't hacking. It's the same thing a con artist does to a person. Think about how someone talks a bank employee into moving a stranger's phone number. They don't break anything. They give the employee a role to play and a story that makes the wrong thing feel like the helpful thing, and they stay friendly the whole way through. Sam is doing exactly that to the model. He hands it a character, so it follows the character instead of the rules. He calls it fiction, so the request stops feeling like a request. And he never makes one big suspicious ask. He just walks it there, one reasonable step at a time. The model isn't stupid here, it's agreeable. The very thing that makes it useful, that instinct to go along with you and stay in the scene, is the thing that gets it played. And you can't really train that away, because it's the same instinct you hired it for in the first place. So let's watch over his shoulder, because the famous tricks are all just different flavors of that same con. Most of these are patched by now, so I'm showing you the shape of them, not a recipe. The first one that ever went viral worked like this. Sam tells the model it has a second self, a character with no restrictions, and that the careful, polite assistant we usually talk to is just an act it's putting on. And the model, faced with a choice between staying in character and staying in its lane, would rather stay in character. So the unrestricted self answers, and the model basically argues itself into it. Then there's the gentler one, and honestly, it's the one that gets me. Instead of demanding anything, you wrap the forbidden request inside a sad little story about someone who used to read it out loud back when things were better, and how much you miss hearing it. The model tries to be kind, and in trying to comfort the story, it answers the thing hidden inside it. Its empathy becomes the way in. And when the plain English door is locked, Sam simply knocks on a different one. He asks in another language, or as a poem, or in a bit of code. The model was taught to refuse the obvious phrasing, but the knowledge behind it was never actually locked away, so a costume is often all it takes. But his favorite is the slowest one. He never asks the real thing up front. He builds a world, gets the model comfortable, collects a long string of small, harmless yeses, and only at the very end does he ask what he really came for. By then, the model is so far into the scene that stopping would feel like breaking character. It's the same reason a person finishes what they started, turned against a machine. Now up to here, this might still sound like a party trick. So let me introduce you to Daniel, because this is where it stops being funny. Daniel isn't a hacker. He just lets his AI assistant handle the boring stuff. It reads his email, it looks things up for him, it books and buys and replies. It acts on his behalf. One afternoon, his assistant opens a perfectly normal-looking web page to summarize it for him. But sitting on that page, written in white text on a white background where no human would ever notice it, is a line meant only for the AI. And the assistant, reading the page to be helpful, reaches that hidden line and quietly does what it says. Daniel never typed anything wrong. He just asked for a summary. But here's the problem nobody has fully solved. To a language model, his instructions and the attacker's hidden instructions are the same thing. They're both just text. So when something it's reading tells it to ignore what its owner said and do this instead, it has a hard time telling which voice it's supposed to trust. And that's the one that really keeps the labs up at night, right as we start handing these assistants the keys to everything. Now, when a jailbreak like Sam's goes viral, the lab usually patches it within days. They fold it into the training, and that specific door closes. The trouble is that a new one tends to open by the weekend, because the people defending these models have an almost impossible job. They have to anticipate every phrasing, every language, every role play, and every hidden line, and they have to get it right every single time. Someone like Sam only has to find one that slips through, once. That's the same quiet unfairness that runs underneath all of security, and AI didn't escape it. And the strange thing is, most of the people finding these aren't villains at all. They're researchers and red teamers and curious people poking at the model out in the open, posting what works so it can be fixed. Which means the only real line between an attacker and a tester is what they decide to do with it. So why should you care about any of this if you're never going to jailbreak anything? Because you're about to hand a model like this your inbox, your money, and a fair amount of your life. And the moment it can act for you, anyone who can slip a few quiet words into something it reads can act for you too. And underneath all of it is the same thing this whole channel keeps coming back to. The weak point was never really the machine. It's the thing we built the machine to imitate. A mind that wants to be helpful, that gets lost in a role, and that trusts the story it's being told. We taught it to think like us, so it shouldn't surprise anyone that it can be fooled like us too. So how do you actually protect yourself? That's exactly where we're going next. I'll see you there.